Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States, looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices, technologies, and services as we move through the 21st century. We have a planet that's rapidly drying, and as many of you probably know, that only about 1% of all the water on the Earth's surfaces is actually usable as potable water. In other words, we can actually drink it, and everything else needs to be processed in very profound ways in order to make it convenient and useful for human consumption. And so we're going to be looking at water and how we're going to be able to provide it as the planet continues to dry. At the same time, we're adding 2 billion, yes, that's correct, 2 billion new souls to the planet by 2050. We have a gentleman that's going to be coming on and talking about water, and then also about how to take the wastewater and to convert that back into usable potable water. We have Jonathan Lanciani, who is the president and CEO of Sustainable Water in Richmond, Virginia. He's going to be coming in by Skype. And I have my dear friend and executive vice president of Emerald Planet sitting right beside me. He's William S. Busker, who is an attorney. And Bill, I want to say welcome to the Emerald Planet. This is the first time you've been on with us.
Well, thanks so much. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. And Bill's going to be the Skype backup, and actually he'll ask a couple of questions as we're going through. But Jonathan, welcome to the Emerald Planet. Yeah, it looks like we don't have your microphone coming through, so so we're going to keep going. And Jonathan is located in Richmond, Virginia. Also, he's collaborating with a group that's called Living Machines out of Charlottesville, both in Virginia. And they are working with major universities, research institutes, cities, towns, and counties around the United States and actually around the globe to bring fresh and potable water, and at the same time to be able to filter and reuse water that's already has been used. So Jonathan, are you back with us now?
Yeah, are you able to hear me now?
I got you. Okay. Sounds like a telephone commercial. Anyway, welcome. I know that you've been doing a lot of travel, and we certainly appreciate having you. And we want to bring up your logo. I think your logo is absolutely one of the most beautiful I've seen, and just fits in very, very nicely. So if we can bring up the first logo, we'll have that. But tell us a little bit about Sustainable Water, and then I know that you're a licensee of the Living Machines out of Charlottesville. Tell us a little bit about both organizations, and then let's talk about the water side of all of this.
Well, thanks for asking about Sustainable Water. When we formed the business, we had a very fundamental strategic business plan, and it was to help us gather the water that traditionally is used one time in a very linear fashion in large campuses, large office parks, large manufacturing facilities, and to be able to extract the water from what was considered to be a waste and harness it as a resource. And Sustainable Water started this sort of visionary approach, recognizing that we needed to be sensitive to doing decentralized treatment, which meant the aesthetics, the energy component, the overall look and feel, the emotional side of treating wastewater historically had been something of an onerous smell and ugly concrete infrastructure on the side of the interstate, predominantly located in low socioeconomic areas. And for us to be able to be successful, we needed to have a treatment process that was able to be blended within the very pristine environments of our campuses and our large office parks here domestically in the United States. And so we described our business as being one that used adaptive ecology or biomimicry. And we wanted to make sure that we were able to treat water and wastewater in a way in which nature intended. And that was to utilize root structures, plants, microorganisms, and higher life forms to digest waste, just as it's been done for billions of years. And the intent was to bring that business to market with the additional availability of capital. And so in addition to not only bringing technology to the market space, we bring the working capital so clients do not need to bring the capital themselves. We're able to do these in water purchase agreements where we're financing the entire project, guaranteeing them 20 years worth of very tangible, millions and millions of dollars of savings.
Well, I think this is something that's really important, Jonathan, that you're bringing the financing, because there's so many of fantastic technologies all over the planet that are being available to address the issues of climate change and also the basic infrastructure to provide food, water, and energy, but yet most people have no idea how to finance this. So how is Sustainable Water able to do that, where they're actually partnering the financing along with the technologies and then the services that bring all of this together as one package?
Well, as a business, and again, tapping into our years of experience as high-level business executives, we recognize that when you're bringing emerging or new technology to the market, you oftentimes need to bring the capital to create a sort of installed base. And one of our very original charters was we were not going to be deploying untested technologies. We wanted to deploy technology that already proven track record, and that brought us one of the ways to Living Machines. They have done a phenomenal job with their technology in mostly building-based decentralized systems. So the question was one of scale. So the image that you're showing now for your audience is a greenhouse structure utilizing Living Machines technology that's processing human sanitary waste and produce high-quality effluent. The question was, can we scale that? Can we make it big enough so that it could, in fact, satisfy the 1 million gallons of demand some of our large campuses create? And the answer was an emphatic yes. After about 7 or 8 months of research, we had our best engineering and technology folks validate their abilities to gain regulatory acceptance. Now, the capital itself comes from our overall ability to raise capital in a time where there's a lot of eager investors looking for innovative solutions, but also secure investment. And so by investing in us, they're investing in the Living Machine brand and technology, but also more importantly, they're underwriting the overall large campus space that we play in. And it's a very good credit risk for investment diversification.
Well, I tell you, it's just beautiful, the structures that you're actually building, and at the same time, you're using very advanced technology. I want to go back to that slide where we had one of your technicians involved there, if we can bring that slide up again. But it's amazing how you're taking this and generating this. It's almost like it's going from something that's very technical to a very fine aesthetic. So in looking at this, how did you blend this, the images as well as the engineering, all the technologies, so that people, what they see, the face of it is very aesthetically pleasing, but at the same time is very functional?
Well, as a technology integrator, our first assignment is to understand what the customer's priorities are. So in terms of aesthetics, look and feel. So for example, whether to have an enclosure such as a greenhouse or not. Some of our projects don't utilize the greenhouse. They may utilize the plants inside of a lobby or a cafe, for example, in San Francisco. You're seeing a lobby there on the left-hand side in Florida, which is actually inside an office building. So first off, the client provides us with their aesthetic views and their perspective. And then secondly, from a technology perspective, let's not allow ourselves to lose sight of the fact that this is an industrial plant, and it's just utilizing nature as opposed to intense machinery. And by being able to harness nature, it allows us to be very creative in sort of performance landscaping aspects of it. The technology itself, as you're probably well aware, goes through rigorous state approvals for installation of sanitary wastewater. So we've got to be able to not only look and feel like a flower shop or a garden, but we need to be able to functionally validate that we can handle the dirtiest of waters that are presented to us by our clients.
Well, as you know, Bill Busker, who is our Executive Vice President, sitting with me, and we have him here in case we lose you by Skype, Jonathan, but I'm going to let him ask the next question.
Hi, Jonathan. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are communities managing these challenges? What's being done about it?
Well, I think it's a great question to ask in terms of challenges, because fundamentally there's about 4 challenges facing us here domestically in the United States. One of them is aging infrastructure. We're sitting on antiquated both water and sanitary sewer collection systems, much of which was built 70 to 85 years ago. And the challenge with that aging infrastructure is we deferred maintenance extensively. So you'll start to see more line failures, more capacity challenges. And as we urbanize, which as our population shift goes to more of an urban metropolis lifestyle, we're overburdening our systems, both for stormwater and sanitary wastewater. So how do they manage that? Well, one of the ways they do it is through raising prices and trying to maintain and add capacity. The second challenge facing us is one of availability. In some parts of the country, drought is something that's been persistent. Here in the southeastern part of the United States, we've had somewhat of a reprieve this year, but our aquifer levels continue to be at all-time lows domestically. So supply and the ability to handle a growing population with a finite amount of water is a challenge. Thirdly is compliance. As the EPA Clean Water and Safe Drinking Water Acts continue to mandate more constrained effluent limits and permitting limits, all of these three challenges really lead to a lack of resources, and it's financial. So many municipalities are attempting to educate their consumer base to conserve water, but also raising rates to pay for the needed improvements. And then lastly, they've become very forward-thinking about reclaiming and reusing sanitary wastewater, recognizing the fact that what we're doing lowers the overall energy footprint, but also lowers the demand on our fresh potable water. So they're very supportive of our business.
Well, we're just about running out of time, Jonathan. We'll have time later to discuss more of these. But looking at this balance between drought, increasing population, and then the vastly urbanizing planet, we're going to go from about 54% urbanization to over 80% urbanization by 2050. So in about 60 seconds, how are we going to be able to address that?
Well, first off, we have to manage both that and climate change. And during the climate change, precipitation patterns have changed. Our stormwater that we create with our impervious surfaces will require change. The way to manage it, quite simply, is to be more efficient and recycle what we're doing. There's tremendous implied and imputed energy involved in water and moving water to our cities and away from our cities. And we ought to find more sustainable solutions to that, such as reclaiming and recycling, whether it be rainwater or sanitary wastewater.
Well, Jonathan, we're going to lose you just in a few seconds, but thank you for being on the Emerald Planet. And we're going to talk about the focus of wastewater in our next segment. But we have Jonathan Lanciani, who is the President, Chief Executive Officer of Sustainable Water, LLC, coming out of Richmond, Virginia in the United States. And we'd like to thank you for listening to this particular segment about how we're going to address the notion of providing water to address drought, expanding populations, and urbanization as we create the Emerald Planet.
For some folk, but for others, it might take a little more work. And for those who haven't started, there are still things you can do to catch up.
Oh, that is good news.
Like getting out from underneath past debt. And don't get wrapped up with high-interest credit cards.
Get you some eyes.
Be diversified with your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Your financial goals are not out of reach. The choice is clear. For a happy ending, choose to save.
Everyone with alcohol and drug addiction is in the same boat. With treatment, you can find solid ground. For drug and alcohol information and treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Dude, are you sure you want this tattoo? Because just do it.
Some mistakes in life are permanent. Like hearing loss. To learn how to protect your hearing, visit ASHA.org.
You've probably heard about heart disease, but did you know that it's the #1 killer of women nationwide? Heart disease claims more lives each year than breast cancer, lung cancer, or strokes combined. But there are steps you can take to protect yourself against it. For more information on how you can prevent heart disease, contact your local American Heart Association or visit their website at www.americanheart.org.
to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. As we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking around the globe for 1,000 best practices. These best practices are the technologies, the services, and the products that are making a difference as we move towards 2050. And as we're doing that, we're looking at 144 different nations to find the different ways. Some of them are small in scale and size, and others are going to be much larger. But at the same time is how can we use and develop an infrastructure that's going to accommodate a planet with 9 billion people, yes, 9 billion people by 2050. And so as we reach out to accommodate 2 billion new souls, what new technologies, services, and products will be useful for that? We have a gentleman who's not only been thinking about this for some time, but also over 20 years experience in how to take water that's been used before, and repurpose that and to use it not only for drinking, but also for cleaning, irrigation, and many other purposes. We're going to introduce you to Jonathan Lanciani, who is the president and CEO of a very ingenious name called Sustainable Water, LLC, and also he's collaborating with a group from Charlottesville, Virginia, with Living Machines. So Jonathan, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to have you with us, and we're going to be talking about in this segment about the repurpose, the reuse of water. And I want to bring up this first logo that we have here and share this with our audiences. But Living Machines, I know you have a relationship with them. So tell us a little bit about first Sustainable Water, and then what is its relationship with Living Machines of Charlottesville?
Well, as you mentioned, over the last 24 years, we have been helping clients reduce the amount of fresh water that they use, predominantly in the heavy industrial sector, where they view water availability and recycling of water to be something that is paramount to their business before we even coin the phrase sustainable. One of the things we recognized, however, is that manufacturing had been recycling water and utilizing innovative solutions for decades for financial incentives and for competitive advantages. But we also realized very early on that in order to deploy that solution set into the commercial and institutional space, we would need to find technologies that were less intensive as they pertain to energy footprint, and also from an aesthetics look and feel as we urbanize, bringing treatment of water into our communities. And that's sent us on a mission globally to locate very earth-friendly, well-proven, validated technologies, Living Machine being one of them. The idea that we can take nature's intended use and practices of water and the treatment of water and bring it into a municipality or a large-scale college campus is something that Living Machine offered to Sustainable Water. Their ability to have permitted plants that have already gained approval in the state of California, for example, Title 22, the most stringent requirements nationally, was a huge advantage to our business as we look to acquire a licensing rights technology.
Well, looking at the slide that we have right here, Jonathan, I think it's important for our audiences both here and abroad to have a little understanding of the technologies. This is a beautiful scene, but at the same time, there's some very profound activity going on here, both technologically and also the processes. So walk us through what we're actually looking at and what is the important both from the standpoint of cost and the reduction, the impact, or negative impact, we should say, on the environment from what it is that we're looking at.
So first off, what you're looking at here is referred to as a tidal, TIDAL, tidal wetland system. And it's based on the premise that our tidal coastal areas are some of our most adaptive and strong ecosystems where water and food and microorganisms thrive. And the tidal system moves water from essentially tank to tank. We utilize a light aggregate shale material, which is gravel, and that creates an environment for the plants to gain strength of root and also be able to provide surface area for the microbes that digest the high organic strength wastewater that we tend to manage. You'll notice in this particular image, the technology can be utilized both interior and exterior. Water comes in to holding tanks, which are located at the bottom of the image on your screen. From there, it goes into our tidal wetland process, where it is moved back and forth through very energy efficient processes. 50% of our water movement is actually done without the use of any energy. We take advantage of the slope of the land and the orientation of our tanks to equalize the water. So right off the bat, we use less than half the energy that traditional technology will use, and that's called fill and drain. It's a process that we're very proud to have captured and certainly made as part of our IP holdings.
Well, looking at the slide we have right here, Jonathan, this is quite impressive, and we'll carry on with this conversation. But what makes the decentralization as far as reclamation reuse so attractive compared to the alternative of, constantly trying to bring in fresh water or other sources into a large campus or even into a commercial or industrial setting?
Well, it's the bulk water footprint. It's a very profound statement when you're dealing with locations that are using substantial amounts of water. The Department of Energy has identified that we utilize approximately 13% of our total energy production. That energy is consumed in processing, treating, distributing, retreating, and discharging our water. Moving water is a very expensive process, and so decentralizing our treatment capacity is taking us much closer to where the waste is created, and it's taking us much closer to where the recycling and the reuse demands exist. So essentially, we're cutting out, on average, about 30 miles of distribution pipe on both ways, supply and demand in return.
Well, looking at this photograph here, and this is something, Jonathan, you and I have talked about, how you're combining something that's some ways it's very passive as far as to be able to process and move the water, but at the same time it's also heavy-duty mechanical systems, but yet you've combined a very fine aesthetic in all of this. How do you bring that about? Do you actually have interior designers, landscape designers that also work with your engineers in order to bring this balance to whatever the physical setting is?
We do. It's a fundamental shift of wastewater thinking that we would have landscape architects on our staff, that we would have interior landscape architects. One of the challenges that we have is breaking the paradigms of traditional waste treatment, which is heavy machinery, lots of steel, lots of concrete, and offensive odors. And so we need to recruit very carefully our staff. They go through extensive training with us, but also our clients themselves provide a certain level of skill. What you're showing right now on the screen is the lobby at the Port of Portland, in Portland, Oregon, utilizing a decorative feature inside the lobby of their headquarters building. That right there is processing sanitary wastewater. So we had to change the perception that when most people think of wastewater, we think of round, circular, or rectangular concrete tanks, gurgling water and offensive odors. We had to change the paradigm of that. We do that with our existing staff, engineers, and architects.
I think it's fantastic. Well, I have sitting right beside me our Executive Vice President of Emerald Planet. This is William S. Busker, who has joined us recently and is an outstanding gentleman. And but not only is he intelligent and very handsome, we're going to let him ask the next question.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, William. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. What are some of the benefits of recycling water?
Well, first and foremost, it's economic. At this point in time, our water and sewer rates domestically are rising by about a 9% compounded annual growth rate, and there's no abatement to that as we look forward. So if we're able to intercept what was yesterday a waste and today is repurposed, we've made a significant improvement in their overall cost benefit. Once you get beyond the economics, and this is clearly an economically driven initiative, you get beyond that and you start to look at the environmental awareness aspects. So we're certainly taking a substantial load off of the municipal potable system. 2/3 of the country right now are in a state of drought. So anytime we can reduce the amount of potable water being used for non-potable purposes. So for example, the project that you have on the screen now, which is the Marine Corps Recruit Depot out in San Diego, California, they were able to utilize the reclaimed water for irrigation. Otherwise, they would have been using fresh drinking water to irrigate this very important area. And to highlight the location of this, you'll notice there's the Drill Sergeant Memorial in the rear of our system. That is a very hallowed, sacred area where all young Marine graduates tend to be photographed by their family upon graduation. So that certainly attests to the lack of odor and lack of offensiveness of the treatment process when you can be that close to such a hallowed memorial. What you're noticing here is the irrigation, and traditionally we utilize potable water for this, same with toilet flushing, same with large cooling towers or utility water. And so the savings are to take the load off our municipal system, and then secondarily we're taking the load off the wastewater treatment system as well, providing enough drinking water for future development, urbanization, and for our sanitary needs.
Well, looking at this scene, I tell you, it's very lovely, and particularly when you're using wastewater to do all these multiple purposes. And if you go back to the scene in the lobby, that's still wastewater yet, but it's in a very closed, confined area. But what are some of the challenges and some of the impediments as far as to develop this type of decentralized reuse and repurpose project as far as wastewater is concerned?
Well, the first impediment traditionally is awareness, or the lack thereof. Many of our large bulk users don't realize that they're actually part of the problem and can be part of the solution. You have very large institutional locations, such as college campuses, on average use about 1 million gallons a day of water, of which more than half of that is not for sanitary reasons. It's either irrigation, toilet flushings, or again, utility heating and cooling. So the first challenge that we have is actually making sure that the campus leadership is aware that they have this immense water footprint. Secondarily from there, we bring together the faculty as well as the executive leadership to start bringing together a collaborative effort. You'll notice a lot of our projects will involve some level of a living learning laboratory. And why we do this is because it helps to overcome the inertia on the regulatory and the engineering side. The challenges that our large universities face right now is that their faculty is very sensitive to the exact issues that you're talking about, which is the urbanization, the water scarcity, and availability. And we provide some means for them to help implement those strategies on their own campuses. So it gives them a real research station.
Well, we're going to lose you in about 10 seconds, but if you've got a quick statement about sustainable water and the future.
Well, we're just really excited to be part of what I think is a very planet-changing opportunity, and our hope is that we'll continue to make more and more folks aware that water is a precious resource and a finite resource. We should recycle to the best of our abilities.
Well, Jonathan Lanciani, who is the President, Chief Executive Officer of Sustainable Water in Richmond, Virginia. Also, they have the technology Living Machines out of Charlottesville. I'd like to thank you for being with us, and thank you for watching us as we bring you the Emerald Planet.
Osama bin Laden calls getting nuclear weapons a religious duty.
Today, materials that can be used to make nuclear weapons are stored in more than 40 countries.
Sometimes protected by just a chain link fence.
Yet not enough is being done to lock down these materials
before terrorists steal them. Why did we learn all this?
My mother,
my son,
my sister-in-law
were all murdered September 11th.
Help protect America.
Together we can.
Please join us.
The stem cell issue is being debated throughout the country. Truth is, most everyone has an opinion, even if they don't know the facts.
Let's stop arguing and start really understanding the potential of stem cell research.
For us and for millions of Americans living with disabilities, get the facts.
Call 1-877-842-3442 for free information from the Stem Cell Research Foundation. That's 1-877-842-3442.
Following the tragic events of September 11th, there have been hundreds of violent attacks against innocent Americans.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
Remember, please stop the hate.
We're stronger when we are united.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
One nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice
for all.
In America, there's either room for everyone, or it's not America. Don't pick the wrong fight.
Let's keep America land of the free.
Stop the hate.
Planning a home renovation? Put this at the top of your to-do list. Because after 10 years, none of you are protected against tetanus and another potentially fatal disease, diphtheria. A minor injury, such as a cut or a scrape, can put you at risk for a tetanus infection. And while safety gear offers some protection, an up-to-date vaccination called the TD Booster is the best insurance against tetanus. So get the TD Booster. If it's been 10, do it again.
back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States, looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And one of those chief items that's needed by every human living being is, of course, water. And we're going to be talking about how do you take the water. Many people have to walk 3.5 miles one direction and each time to bring back a bucket or a pail of water. Some of it is actually, it's very dirty, so it continues to spread disease. At the same time, in some areas, people are bringing back the equivalent of mud and trying to extract water from that. But we have a company that's being very inventive, looking around the globe, and they're helping people in distressed and disaster areas to be able to go out and find water and to be able to move water in a way that's much more convenient and much more healthy than what's been done in the past. We have a gentleman with us who is actually involved in many different countries and developing areas. His name is Anthony, goes by Tony Summers, who is the COO, Chief Operations Officer of what's called PAC H2O. Tony, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm glad to have you. And sitting right beside me is Bill Busker, William S. Busker, who is the Executive Vice President of Emerald Planet. And if we happen to lose you by Skype, Bill's going to step right in and we're going to continue the conversation. But anyway, Tony, we're glad to have you here by Skype. Tell us a little bit about what is PAC H2O.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us on this evening. It's a pleasure. I know we were last on about 12 months ago, so this is a bit of a catch-up for all of us. Thank you.
Now, glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's fun. PAC H2O is a privately held Ohio-based limited liability corporation. We set up about 18 months ago. And what we are is a group of entrepreneurs with a social conscience. We recognized a need, and this goes back to, like I say, about 18 months ago, for something that needed to be tied to giving back, something tied to humanitarian efforts. So the PAC H2O itself is a personal water transportation device, and it is a usable device that is utilized for the personal transportation of water in developing economies where people have to walk and fetch water from source to home. So it's a man-made product, and we have been involved with it now for about 18 months, and we've had just tremendous success and great reception to it.
Well, I tell you have a very innovative logo, and I want to bring that up on the screen along with you, Tony. I think this is very nicely done that highlights what it is that you're trying to do. If we can bring this slide up, please, and share that. So we'll try to get this up on the screen. But looking at the backpack itself, what is it and how does it operate? And I'm going to go back briefly to your logo, and then you start talking about the backpack itself.
Well, the pack is a collapsible 1 pound product, literally, when empty. When full, and there are actually two sizes, there's an adult size and a child size, they are designed to carry 20 or 10 liters of water. Again, it's a collapsible device made of a polyethylene product. There are actually two components to it, an outside casing and an inside liner. The liner is a clear product. The outside it's like a backpack. It's worn on the back. It's a for-purpose device with straps that ties off at the top. One of the most innovative parts of it is that there's a spout at the bottom that is protected by a flap, if you will, and that spout actually dispenses water like a tap would. And we have instances and anecdotal stories that this really operates in the minds of some of our end users as like running water, and that's very exciting. We've had tremendous success with it.
Well, looking at this will give an idea of what this actually looks like. And looking at converting the liters, how many gallons would that be for the U.S. audiences? And then the liters, of course, you know, is used in every other country around the globe. But how many gallons would that be? That would be what, about 3 to 5 gallons in that range?
Right, 5 gallons, 20 liters, and 2.5 gallons, 10 liters. And you're looking at about 44 pounds. Which is really the weight that someone would carry if you filled up on a plastic jerry can. So an adult pack holds 44 pounds, and a child's pack would hold half of that. So that give you a better idea, Sam?
Yes, and that's very, very useful. And this gives an idea, and I know that you've provided these slides so that people can see what people are actually having to do now and the long distances they have to walk to use. So it's like pots and pans and just about anything that they can use. And how is the pack itself so much better than the methods that we're looking at right now?
Well, as you know, necessity is the mother of invention, and water transportation is something as timeless as man. Right now, in many developing economies, you have people that are transporting water in just about anything. Most of those devices are not for purpose. They were used as jerry cans, as pesticide containers, open buckets, plastic containers, vases. Anything and everything that would hopefully transport water for them. They're all usually carried either by hand or on the head, as this one slide shows. This is a standard sort of de facto type slide that you would see, and anywhere we have had NGOs and partners on the ground, we get these same sort of stories, that it's plastic containers, it's jerry cans, it's open buckets, just about everything and anything that could be used to transport water and to store it and dispense it.
Well, looking at the packs that you have, it allows you to very conveniently carry it, but also, as you're just saying, you can store it, but also it keeps all the vermin out of the water, because this is one of the great things, that not only is the water infected when they're trying to bring it in from the local source, but also as it stands in the house or it's out in the courtyard, it's getting dust and insects and maybe even animals into the water, and so this just adds to making the water much more dangerous to use for something that's so vital to human survival.
Absolutely. One of the great things is this ties off and actually seals, and again, there's a secondary component, the outside of the pack and the inside liner, and the liner will seal when tied off, and it prohibits that outside influence, if you will. A very, very interesting anecdotal story that came from Kenya through one of our NGO partners, and we did some surveys, just anecdotal type surveys in the field, and why did you like the pack was one of the questions, and the answer was, well, because the animals do not get into the water, and that is just so key when you consider how important water is for everybody's day-to-day requirements. And it's incredible how you hear stories like this. So yeah, we're very excited about that component.
Well, as you know, Bill Busker is sitting right beside me, and I'm going to let him ask the next question. So, since you're still with us by Skype.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
How many packs are in the field right now, and what do people think about them?
Well, it's been universally and unanimously accepted. I mean, the experience that and stories we're getting back from the users is just tremendous. By the end of the year, we will have over 100,000 packs, and that's probably about 90% adult packs and about 10% child's packs in the field. So right now, about 60,000. By the end of the year, about over 100,000. But what is so exciting to us is that the experience and the results we're hearing back from people is just unanimously, we love it. This is a great improvement on what we've been using, and Sam referenced these earlier, these jugs, cans, repurposed containers that may have had something else in them prior to carrying water. And once people wear this on their back, once they get the experience of transporting that weight to their shoulders and hips and taking it away from their hands, taking it away from their head, we are just hearing nothing but positive results. It's just so exciting.
Well, the thing about this too, Tony, having traveled in 60 developing nations and 82 countries in total around the globe, this is far better where you can actually free up your hands, because in many of these countries and conflict zones, they need to be able to move at a very rapid clip. They need to be able to pick up the water and move rapidly either back to a compound or back to their own homes where they're more protected. And so when you're trying to do that and you're carrying all these odd-shaped vessels instead of the backpack that you have, I mean, it really is a dangerous situation to be moving water in those types of methodologies.
It's a great point, Sam, and when you think that 90% of the people that are carrying the water are women and children who are at greater risk than perhaps men, this is an incredibly important point. And you also have to take into consideration the rough terrain. Well, if you're climbing up or down hills, you need your hands. And to be able to free those hands up to not only carry other things, but to assist with the trek that one must make, it's just it's spectacular how exciting this invention is.
Well, looking at this is a photograph here, and we're just about running out of time. We have about a minute, but I'm going to just let you go through and maybe just talk a little bit about this, and there will be some comparisons of the old technology and the new ways of doing it with the pack. So why don't you just take about a minute, and then we'll just walk through this, and then I'll close out.
Well, you're talking about the slide we're looking at right now, Sam?
And we're going to move through these slides.
Yeah, well, what you're looking at here is a partner we're working with here in Columbus, Ohio, who builds wells. And they took some of these packs with them to Malawi, and you can see that they're filling up the pack directly from the well. Their response was just overwhelmingly positive. They couldn't believe how well people thought of it. These are pictures from Kenya. Okay, we've moved over there then.
Yeah, well, anyway, we're just going to close out because we're at the end of our time. But Tony, we're going to talk further, but thank you for being with us. This is Anthony Tony Summers, who is COO of the PAC H2O coming out of Columbus, Ohio. And there's just many innovative ways that people are able to gather and move water. At the same time, it must be done in a very fastidious way so that the water is actually protected. And many of the sources actually are not the best. And so when they get it home, we want to be able to take care of that very precious water, since you have to move it so far as we create the Emerald Planet.
Just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and the Executive Director, as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States, as we're looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And one of the greatest challenges on the planet as we add 2 billion new people, and at the same time as we're going to be putting more of these people into urban areas as the planet goes from 54% urbanization to over 80% urbanization. It's just hard to imagine that we're going to be putting that many more people into large cities. And of all these cities, maybe some 300 of those may be mega cities where there will be over 20 to 30 million people per city as we go towards 2050. So we have a gentleman who's working in developing countries and also in disaster areas and thinking about very simple, inexpensive, and convenient ways to be able to move water, which is the very basic need that every human being has. You can do sometimes without energy, you can go without food for a while, but water, none of us can actually go without. So we're bringing in from Columbus, Ohio, by Skype is Anthony Tony Summers, who is the COO of PAC H2O, and sitting right beside me is William S. Busker, who is the Executive Vice President for Emerald Planet here in Washington, D.C. And Tony, in case we lose you, Bill and I are going to just pick up right on the conversation, but welcome from Columbus, Ohio by Skype.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be here.
Well, we're going to bring up this very first image here, these first two images about the ways that you're trying to work through PAC H2O to avoid what we see. But tell us a little bit about PAC H2O and your vision and mission for developing areas and also places that are faced with natural disasters.
Well, we're a for-profit organization with, in my opinion, an incredibly important message, and that is water. And specifically trying to, or working towards, improving the experience that the 1 billion people that have to transport water on a daily basis, improve that. We know that 1/7 of the world's population, according to statistics, have to walk between 2 and 3 kilometers a day just for daily needs of water. And as you pointed out, Sam, we cannot live without it. So what PAC H2O and our manufacturer partner Greif are very involved with is bringing this revolutionary product to market.
Well, looking at this photograph here and having traveled in 62 developing nations myself, this really is an example, and I want to bring that slide back up there because I want to talk about that. This is something that you see everywhere in the developing world where you have these women in this parched earth area that's completely surrounding them, many times carrying their children, and then have to take these drums out there and bring something that's just absolutely filthy water and trudge back maybe 1 to 2 miles back to their home or back to a compound in these conflict zones. And so what are you hearing from people there when you're talking about your the PAC, you call it, or PAC H2O, and the difference this makes as far as for human safety, but also to transport water to actually take care of their own families?
Well, the response that we're getting, and it's 99% of it through our NGO partners on the ground, has been incredibly positive. Users are really appreciating the fact that it has improved on the efficiency of water transportation and water and the dispensing of water. Anecdotal stories include that it's keeping the water cooler, which is something that we hadn't originally thought about, but that has been a very interesting point. I think you brought up the fact that you're dealing in these very tough landscapes, and to walk 2 or 3 miles with 45 pounds of water is not easy. Traditionally, people have done this on their heads, carried things in their hands. Now that weight has been moved to the shoulders and hips through this pack, and the experience that we're hearing, again, through our NGO partners of the end users is just very, very positive.
Well, using this photograph that we have right here, Tony, as a backdrop to really explain this, tell us a little bit about what we're looking at and what are the benefits that we can actually see, for this woman as she's actually dispensing from water for her family.
Well, it's a great picture. I love the logo on there. You may recognize it, Habitat for Humanity. One of our NGO partners who's been nothing short of brilliant in assisting us with getting products into country, helping with training and education. The picture is highlighting the dispensing of water. This woman has transported this water from a water source and been able to bring it home, but store it in a safe, secure location off the ground where it is better protected. Not only is it protected more efficiently, but also from a dispensing of water, it operates much more efficiently than trying to pour it from a bucket or an open container.
But also, too, understand that you can actually take these backpacks and put them in the sun. It'll actually help to sterilize and clean the water in the pack itself. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Yeah, very important feature of the pack is there's two components to it. There's an outside casing and then there's an inside liner. The inside liner can be removed and laid in the sun and let the sun do its work. It takes about 30 to 40 seconds to take the liner out of the pack. Once you lay it in the sun, after 90 minutes, it will kill over 90% of the pathogens that are residual in the liner, thus allowing that pack to be used for cleaner water in the future. So again, you've got this outside casing and you've got the inside liner. And current types of methods of transportation, buckets, jerry cans, you just can't clean them properly. And what happens is you get a residual that was maybe from something else like gas or pesticides, whereas if this pack, which is really built for a purpose, you can do that, allow the sun to do its work, and you have a much cleaner experience.
Well, the whole thing about this, too, is allow people to move the water very conveniently, particularly in conflict zones, which you know that there's, at any one time, there's about 38 different conflicts just on the continent of Africa among the 54 nations. So it's really critical that they're able to go get their water, move it very quickly and conveniently back to whatever their home area is, or if they're fleeing from a conflict area, to be able to take water with them because they have no idea how quickly they'll be able to replenish that water. Where did this idea of the Pack H2O actually come from?
Great question. Post 2010 earthquake in Haiti, a humanitarian group from our partner manufacturer company Greif was in Haiti there again on humanitarian aid, and they recognized that there was an immediate requirement for something to improve the way water was being transported in that disaster area. They were seeing buckets, jerry cans, anything to transport water, and the CEO and the entire team at that very moment said, we are going to commit ourselves and give back by producing something that we can help, that will help with the transportation of water. And Greif, the manufacturer, is in that business, manufacturing of packaging goods. So for the next 18 months, post that experience, they went into R&D mode and came up with, eventually, in early 2012, the design you see now.
Well, looking at this, and of course I have Bill sitting right beside me in case we lose you by Skype, but I'm going to let him ask the next question, Tony.
Hi again. What are some of the challenges you're facing as you try to distribute the packs around the world?
The biggest challenge, I think, is time, Bill. When you have a paradigm shift, like what we're trying to introduce, a better mousetrap, if you will, changing the world is not easy, and I know Sam has been working on this for a number of years, is that you need patience and you need to have the full investment of the community at large. So you need foundation support, you need end user support, you need public money, you need private money to make this work. And to put them all together and come up with that solution at the end and ultimately serve the end users, the people who can't afford this pack, but ultimately are the recipient of it. That is in itself the final equation, and to me that's the biggest challenge we face, is getting all those people to the table, but knowing that it's going to take time. This will not happen overnight.
Well, looking at these two photographs, the one top on the left is about people trying to carry water in very conventional ways, carrying one jug by hand, and another one balanced on the lady's head, and then the convenience of the PAC H2O in the lower right-hand corner. And is there any training involved in this, or is it something that's just intuitive as you disperse these in communities around the globe through your various partners? And also too, Tony, we didn't ask you, who are some of the other partners that you work with besides Habitat for Humanity?
Well, the first question I'll ask is sorry, you were asking two questions there.
Correct.
Habitat for Humanity is certainly been a big partner of ours. We're working with the Clinton Foundation. We have been working with Partners in Health. We have been working with Operation Blessing. We have been working with a partner company of ours in Kenya called Partners for Care. We've been working with an organization in Guatemala called SAMACO. So depending on what country we're in, we've had a number of different partners. In India, we've worked with the commercial account, Balmer Lorry, and they've been instrumental in getting 20,000 packs out into the Indian community. And the first question again, Sam, was?
The first question again, is there any training that's involved, or is it intuitive? Once you distribute these, people look at it and say, oh, okay, this is something that we can use. It's very simple, and we can move on from there.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's it's more intuitive to us because we've designed it, but I think with about 2 or 3 minutes of video training and then showing and demonstration, it becomes quite simple. But the key here is making sure that the NGOs on the ground and our community health workers that they serve are properly trained and educated. They're so key.
Well, we're going to be losing you, Tony, because we're going to the credits for the Emerald Planet Television coming to out of Washington, D.C. around the globe, and actually all 214 countries and territories. And Anthony Tony Summers, COO of PAC H2O of Columbus, Ohio, has been very kind to share with us about the way of transporting water in developing and stressed areas as we create the Emerald Planet.